Hey, CCF, I'm coming to you from the woods in New Hampshire. Zoe and I are away celebrating 32 years of marriage. So we were excited to be able to get away for a couple of days, and so thankful that we could do that. But still wanted to bring you the encouraging word. You may hear all kinds of noises, or you may see me swiping at myself because of the mosquitoes that are attacking me right now. But I still want to bring you this, and here's the question I've got for us today. Have you ever wondered, as a Christ follower, have you ever wondered what is the best way for me to actually demonstrate that your first priority is that you love God? Like, how do you actually live that out? And the Apostle John does a great job with this. In 1 John chapter 4, he answers that very question of what it looks like for people who say, oh, I love God. And then he tells us exactly what that looks like. And here's what he said. He said in verse number 20, 1 John chapter 4, verse number 20, if someone says, I love God, but hates a brother or a sister, that person is a liar. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? So, to simplify this, if you want to answer the question on whether or not you actually love God, you need to ask yourself the question, how are you loving the people around you? You know, when the horrific murder of George Floyd hit our nation, and it created so much tension, I called one of our friends, an African-American pastor in Providence, and I called him to ask him, hey, how can we encourage you? How can we come alongside of you? What's the best thing for us as white people to be able to do? And I'm looking for some kind of action step from him. I'm looking for him to say, oh, if you did this or if you did that. But after listening to him, he kept on coming and circling back around. He would say, Rick, you know, the best thing that you can do is just listen and continue the conversation. Listen and continue the conversation. And isn't that exactly what loving other people is? Doesn't loving other people mean that you are willing to listen? That means that you're willing to listen to them long enough to understand where they're coming from, to understand their all of the history that's involved in their reactions. Doesn't loving someone mean that you will put your words on hold, on stop, and that you would actually listen to what they have to say, and that you would listen to understand, that you wouldn't listen to try and prove a point. You know, if you want to demonstrate that you love God, could I encourage you to do more listening than talking? Could I encourage you to find somebody else that has a different opinion? And if you want to prove that you love God, show up and listen. Who else could put it better than the Apostle John when he says, if you can't even love people that you can see, how can you say that you love God who you can't see? And then just before the Apostle John said that, here's what he said. In the way that you are going to bring about the full expression of God's love, here's what he said. Listen to this in verse number 12. He says, no one has ever seen God, but if we love each other, God lives in us, and his love is brought to full expression in us, in the act of loving somebody else. In the act of loving somebody else enough on your social media page to say, hey, I can't fully understand what it's like to walk in your shoes. There's no way that you and I as white people can fully understand what it means to be a black person in the U.S. There's just no way we can do that. So we, church, need to listen. We need to listen, and we need to respond out of love. So let's show the world that we actually do love God by loving those around us. Will you do that this week? Will you look for a way that you can love everyone around you, even the haters who are on social media, the haters who you bump into at Stop and Shop, the haters, where you work? What if you demonstrated the love of God and you allow the full expression of God's love to flow through you? Because that's powerful. Come on, let's love like this.